Cock 45 here, doing what I'm kind of known to be doing pretty often, loading big bullets into a revolver. 44 special. I've become quite a 44 special addict, huh? Well, let's shoot this one. Oh, that felt good. Oh man, double action's got a nice rolling double action, I'll have to say. It seems to hit right on. So let's just reach on out to that big yellow thing out there. Oh man. .44 special. Oh, missed. This could become my favorite 44 special. I don't know. Got some nice ones, just like 44 Magnums. They're so sweet. This one, the model of 1950, pre-21, it's a little different. It's a little different. Most of you might be familiar with the model 24. That's why I brought this out. You know, 44 special. This will not chamber a 44 Magnum. It's a 44 special. Built to be a 44 special, okay? And it is model 24. It has, you know, adjustable sights and everything. So it was made in the 80s, you know, when they were calling a model 24. So it's not a pre-24. But back in the 50s, you know, and that's the case, you know, with a lot of firearms. You have firearms that are, you've probably heard the term pre-war model. That's a pre-war model. There's so many firearms that are designated that way. Rifles, I have a pre-war model 70, for example. And there's just anything, it puts it before World War II. Okay, that's the war they're talking about. If you see something that's pre-war. I think in about every case. I don't know if they use that back through the ages. But it means that firearm, it was made before World War II when it's pre-war. Okay, and this Smith & Wesson started numbering all their models in 1957. So Smith & Wessons that were made, like in 1950, 53, whatever, they didn't have that model number. They weren't a model such and such. They were like, this is just the model of 1950 or something. And you know, you had the Combat Magnum, which later became the Model 19, for example. You know, the Chief Special later became the Model 36. So those were, and this one was considered a pre-Model 21, because once they started using the designations, they called it a 21. You know, these were made in early 50s, 1953 or whatever. Model 24 was. So guess what we call it? We call it a pre-Model 24, right? If it's got the target sights on it. All right. Now think about that. Who uses those terms? Smith & Wesson didn't put on the box when this thing was made, oh, this is a pre-model 57 or 21. And on my Model 70 that was pre-war, made before World War II, I don't think on the box it read pre-war Model 70, right? I don't think they knew we'd be at war, right? And Smith & Wesson probably didn't know they were going to start using numbers, you know, a few years later. All right, so that's kind of a collector's term, you know, pre-war, pre-model 21 or whatever it is. Okay, I knew you were worried about that, so I thought I'd clue again. But that's what this is, a pre-model 21, model in 1950. Very quickly, I think I went through a lot of this in the video on this firearm. Smith & Wesson, you know, came out with their 44s, you know, early part of the century. And 1900s, they call them the hand ejector 44 and all that kind of thing. You had the triple lock, and went on right up. The second model, hand ejector 44, and third model, and all that. Then after the war, World War II, they were still, I think, making a few, putting them together with parts that they still had, but they were not. They suspended production, of course. Their revolvers like this pretty much during World War II, except for the ones that chambered the 45 ACP, right, the 1917. But they resumed afterwards with parts they had, and then they kind of redesigned it, as I recall, before 1950. They shortened the action and some things like that, some internal changes. Basically the same gun, but they made some improvements in it. and it became the model of 1950. That's just kind of what they called it or referred to it. Hand ejector model of 1950 or something like that, okay? And then in 57 gave them model numbers. All right, so that's what this is. You don't see a lot of them, and I'm gonna load it up again. Let's put some of this Underwood in here, 44 Special. So this is 44 Special. This is actually specifically the model of 1950 military, because it has non-adjustable sights. It wasn't issued to the military necessarily, but it kind of, I guess, reminiscent of the model 1917. So it's the model of 1950 military, and then if it had adjustable sights like this one, it was called the model of 1950 target model, I think. Now, this one, I've always been impressed with these when I have seen them, and I haven't seen them very often, but I remember seeing one at a gun show like 20 or 30 years ago and thought, oh, that is cool, 44 Special, I like that. And I looked at the price, I thought, whoa, what is the deal? Because they're very collectible. There weren't many of them. And in 4-inch barrel, the model of 1950, pre-21, military with non-adjustable sights and a 4-inch barrel, which is another desirable feature. I think, if memory serves, there were 400 of them made total, and so they just don't give them away, unfortunately. So, but they're really nice. I mean, who can not like, you know, this firearm? 4-inch barrel, in frame, you know, 44 Special. Let's put one on that target. Yeah, that's pretty hot ammo. Nice. That target reminds me, we appreciate all those people that help us out, like Davidson's Gallery of Guns, where you get a lifetime guarantee on your replacement. There we go. SDI.edu. Get some distance learning from more distance than what I'm shooting at. Yeah, all kinds of topics. And then there is Alabama holster. Let's shoot Alabama. Yeah, they make the greatest little Kydex concealment holsters you've ever used. All right. Do I have a bullet left for the cowboy? No, I don't. Okay. So that's what this thing is. You're not going to run into them very often at a gun show or even online. It's just not, occasionally, but they're rare.